So welcome back to the Mardiyah Show, where we're talking about the topic of polygyny, an ancient tradition in modern times. And I'm here with my guests, Sister Aisha Abdul Qadir and Sister Jannah Bayyan. So let me go into my next issue, which is why do you think that, women in polygyny today, they don't have a support system, whether from the community, the Islamic community, or from the people in their families, their family members that are Muslims. You find a lot of sisters that go into polygyny today, they're kind of looked at as home wreckers. They're looked at as women who just can't find a man, so you want to marry somebody else's husband. And I'm just being just as cynical as, the people are with the situation. I mean, we have to be for real about this. The women going into polygyny today in our communities, especially African American women, because we are the vast majority of American Muslims that are in polygyny. There's no other culture in America that practices polygyny to the degree that we practice it as African Americans. All right. So with that being said, most of us come from Christian backgrounds, come from Christian families, so we don't expect our Christian relatives to be a support, when in fact many of them are. They take the position that if that's what makes you happy, I'm all for it, right? Whereas the Muslims, on the other hand, it's like, you're stupid for doing this. Why would you do that to yourself? I know this particular sister, you're going to destroy her home. I know she can't handle polygyny, and it almost makes it seem like the woman going into polygyny is the home wrecker. She's going to destroy somebody's family, and therefore there's no support system. And then when the marriage crumbles, everyone is there to say, see, I told you so. I told you so, right? Why do you think that is? As a community first, and then, of course, as a people, as African Americans.
Well, I remember when I first got married, and I was happy. Like, it was nothing anyone can tell me.
And how long have you been in polygyny?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
So I was at the masher and I saw one of my friend's mothers and I was like, oh, I got married. She was like, is it polygamy? I was like, yes. She was like, oh, you shouldn't tell people that. Wow. I'm just like, why? Like, why not? What's the problem? This is something.
It's an embarrassment.
I guess it was like, it's taboo. You're marrying someone else's husband. And I mean, there's no ownership. He's somebody else's husband. He's my husband too. Like, the rights that she has, I have. It's not like he's married to one woman and I'm his mistress. It's not that type of dynamic. Like, whatever rights she has, I have. Whatever goes on with, them, it can equally go on with me. Not, to the same degree of, if he gets her a pair of socks, he's going to get me a pair of socks. Not like that, but
right.
But you get what I'm saying.
Exactly,
I'm his wife. It doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't take anything away from her. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't understand why. At the time, I'm oblivious. I'm on a cloud, But looking back, I'm just like, what's the problem? Like, that's my husband, so.
Sister Aisha?
I would say from my era, it's the men and women have this mentality that wife-girlfriend. So you're the wife, he can have a girlfriend, but she's not getting the same rights that you are. Her friends know about her, but in my community, I'm the wife, and that's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And because when I told my mother that I was getting married and he was already married, she's like, why? Why would you do something like that? I'm like, okay, because we'll be on equal footing. It's not going to be like I'm the mistress and I'm sitting at home waiting for him, and he's with his wife and I have to, wait for crumbs. We're going to be equal. So she was like, she couldn't understand that, and I just had to tell her, well, you're already in polygyny. So, but you look at it a different way, and you accept that. You don't want to accept this. I mean, there are people that I know. It's like one of my coworkers. She said that my husband can have a prostitute, but he can't have another wife. I'm like, why would you? She said, because that's temporary.
Yeah.
she's not getting what I'm getting. That's just like something to pass the time.
Well, I think that speaks a lot to the fact that women are very territorial, and women can handle a man sleeping with another woman, but they can't handle a man loving another woman. So this is why men will not tolerate a woman cheating on him, whereas a woman will be more tolerant of her man cheating on him. Because for men, we know that if a woman cheats on us, that it was an emotional attachment. Women don't normally engage in a sexual behavior or sexual act with another man unless there's an emotional attachment there. Their private area and their emotions are connected with one another. Now, I'm not talking about, the average run-of-the-mill woman. I'm talking about a woman who was raised with morals and standards, all right, and expectations of what it means to be a woman. She's not going to undress and to engage in a sexual relationship with a man unless her emotions is attached. So this is why a man would divorce a woman very quickly if he found out that his wife cheated on him, because he knows that it wasn't just sleeping around. There was an emotional attachment there. Whereas on the other end, a woman would be more tolerant of her man sleeping around because she knows that, what's the first thing the woman says? Do you love her? Right? Do you love her? And if the man says, no, it was just, a one-night stand, it wasn't a big deal, that marriage can be repaired because she knows that she's still the only one that he loves, and women will be more apt to, tolerate a man cheating with someone that his heart is not attached to. But in polygamy, it's a totally different story. This is a man loving two women. And yes, a man can love two women, may not be able to love them the same, because the heart is just not designed like that. But yet and still, he can love two women. The Prophet ﷺ is a clear example of that. So yeah, you have, this dynamic of, the woman, feeling this way. But I just think that, in our communities, there's a lack of support. There's no support system. There's no glove. And, this was one of the reasons that the Prophet ﷺ intervened when his son-in-law, Ali ibn Abi Talib, wanted to marry another wife. Ali ibn Abi Talib was married to the Prophet's daughter, Fatima. And when Ali wanted to marry another wife, he was going to marry the daughter of Abu Jahl. The daughter of Abu Jahl was Muslim. And when Fatima found out that Ali was going to marry her, she went to the Prophet ﷺ to intervene. And when he went to go intervene, he told Ali, he said, Inni la uharrimu haraman. I'm not making something halal haram. I'm not making something that Allah made halal haram. Meaning, you are free to be in polygamy, but you will not be in polygyny with my daughter. You will not have my daughter in polygyny. And the scholars explain that the reason why the Prophet ﷺ intervened was because Fatima had no support system. Fatima's mother, who was Khadija bint Khuwaylid, she was deceased. All of Fatima's sisters, Kulthum, Ruqayya, and Zainab, all of them were deceased. She had no immediate women in her family to help her in this situation. So the Prophet immediately intervened out of fear, as he said to Ali, that I fear it would be a fitna for her in her deen. All right. So this shows that a woman going into polygyny, she has to have a support system. And that support system can consist of family members, friends, and even us as Muslims, the large community, the greater community. And unfortunately, with us as Muslims, especially African Americans, we have so much self-hatred, right? And especially those of us who find it hard to maintain our own relationships, or we have bad experiences ourselves with polygyny. So we'll tell a sister, oh, I don't know why you're going into polygyny, why are you wasting your time with that, whatever the case may be, because of her own bad experience. And it's just it's just too much for you to just be supportive. It's too much for you to say, that's good for you, I'm in total support of it. If that's what works for you, I'm totally in your corner. That's just too much for us, I don't know, do you guys, see the same thing?
I see it, but when you get to the root of polygyny, you're looking at a man who's dealing with more than one woman. So, when you look at the root of it, you men kind of take the dismissive, she's jealous, oh, let's get over it.
And we want to get to that jealousy. I want to talk about what Shakespeare coined the green-eyed monster, right? Jealousy, right? And what I want to look at in polygyny is the jealousy of the women that are involved. Number one, is jealousy to be condemned? Is it a bad thing that a woman is jealous? Because sometimes we just dismiss it and say, oh, you're being jealous, you need to fear Allah, as if jealousy is a bad thing. Like, jealousy is founded on a fear of losing something that is dear to you. So quite naturally, if a woman is in fear of losing the attention of her husband, or losing the love of her husband, or losing the physical presence of her husband, I would say that the jealousy is justified, and there's nothing Islamically to condemn that type of jealousy. Does a woman, my question to you is, does a woman just get over jealousy, or does she navigate her way through it and actually never gets over it? And the reason that I'm asking is that some brothers will just look at their wives and say, just get over it. We've been down this road before. I've taken a second wife before. Why are you getting so jealous? Get over it, right? Like jealousy is just something, a hurdle that you just kind of get over,
I would say jealousy would be looking at the other wife to see what he likes in her. Okay. And if you have the same, like her hair long or short, looking at things that turn him on and then hating it and wanting it, removed. I wouldn't say that it's what's the word I want to use? I think jealousy would be in seeing him interacting with her, and the way that he interacts with her, he doesn't interact with you.
Okay.
Like he's being more affectionate with her than he is with you, and then you want to compete with that and try to make him be more affectionate, and then to let her see it, then she gets upset.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking basically about the more blameworthy, the more contemptible type of jealousy.
Yes, because you're going to have a concern about how this woman looks that has turned him on. And it's only going to be natural. Like, okay, she has a certain style, and then if you want to try to emulate that style, or you want her not to have it anymore.
Okay.
But if you he likes the shoes she wears, so I'm going to get the same kind of shoes and see if he likes them on me like he likes them on her.
That really
Are you serious? Yes.
Wow.
They call it stealing my style.
Stealing my style. Wow. Okay.
Like she's wearing kimono a certain way, and then you see your co-wife the next day wearing it the way you had it on yesterday, and you like...
The young people call it swag jacking. Right? You're jacking my swag, right?
So, I mean, you're going to have that level. But
I don't know if I would admit to having that type of experience. I don't know.
Over the years, it's been, how long? Like gone 2000, like almost 12 years now. So you're going to see things. So it happens. You have to control it. You have to, if it's something bad, you're going to have to ask Allah to remove it from you.
Okay.
But if you get consumed in it and you find yourself, trying to get a complete makeover to look like the other wife.
Look like the other wife.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, sometimes what the woman sees in the other wife may not necessarily be reality. It might be a figment of your imagination because it's driven by jealousy. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Aisha, radiallahu anha, she said that the first time she saw Safiya, the Prophet ﷺ married Safiya outside of Medina at the battle, one of the battles where he went to war. And Safiya's father and her brother and her uncle and her family was basically killed in that battle. The Prophet ﷺ gave Safiya dawah, and he ended up marrying her. On his way back to Medina, so he married her outside of Medina. So the word got back to Medina that the Prophet took another wife, right? So all of the other wives are sitting around waiting to see what this new woman looks like. She was used to be a Jewish woman. She was a Jew, and then she converted to Islam. So that added fuel to the fire. Like he's marrying somebody from a whole other religion and bringing her into Islam. Similar to what you find many Muslim women today. Like you're going to go and give this kafir woman or non-Muslim woman dawah and marry her, and you have all these Muslim women. Maybe that's not his preference, Nonetheless, when he brought Safiya into Medina, Aisha, she said when everyone gathered around, to congratulate him, Aisha said, I couldn't really see her, so I stood on top of my camel to get a good look at her. He said, she said, when I saw Sophia, she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life, right? She said, but I saw her some time afterwards, after my jealousy subsided, right? And she said that her beauty was adi, her beauty was just as normal as any other woman's. So to show you that her vision was exaggerated because of the jealousy. So sometimes what a woman sees in the co-wife may not necessarily be there. It could be a figment of your imagination because it's driven by jealousy. I mean, I don't know, Sister Jannah, have you seen anything like this, or can you relate to this?
Well, I mean, what she's saying is it's accurate, but the type of jealousy like that I think about is the type that kind of infringes on your behaviors in the marriage, like, your relationship with your husband, your relationship with the co-wife. That's the dangerous kind of jealousy. Everything else is normal. Like, it's normal to feel some kind of way. That is normal. But it's not
So it's
normal.
not something the men should get upset over, like, why are you, being jealous? Can the men, is that even appropriate for a man to say to his wife, why are you being jealous?
No, everybody needs their space and their time, and you oppress a person when you try to make them do something that they're not ready to do. If you are jealous and that woman needs that space, if a wife needs that, she validate that. Give that to her. Wow, because that is your friendship with your wife. You're about to take another wife. This is a crisis. This is something that this woman has to go through. But you need to validate that. Validate that although she feels a way, you're not replacing her. Although, it's just so much that comes along with it. And I think that is probably the most important aspect for men to practice when they're going into validate your wives, the ones that you have right now. That is still your friend. That relationship is still important.
Wow, interesting. Validate that jealousy. Don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it as something that
hope it goes away.
That you should just get over.
Right.
Get over it. I'm marrying her. That it is what it is. Get over it. No, but validate her feelings. Like, honey, I understand why you feel the way that you feel. And to be in that moment, as we had in another segment on the show, meeting people where they are. Be there in that moment with her, as opposed to dismissing, because that only makes the woman more resentful towards you later on, because she remembers that she was at that low period and you dismissed her feelings, you didn't validate. So, I'm hoping the men that are listening to this episode really understand what it means when we say validate the feelings of your wife. Don't dismiss. That feeling of jealousy, it's normal. You are bringing another woman into a relationship.
But if I may interject, for him to validate her, but not to give her too much ammunition to make her think that I'm above her, so it's all about me and you're just coming into our relationship, so I'm here and you're there.
And that's the first wife syndrome. Absolutely. I talked about that in my book as well. That the man sometimes he creates his own monster, right? Because in his attempt to quell the jealousy of his wife, he tells her, "Oh, don't worry about it. I love you more than her. She will never have with you what you have, and what I had with you is." And then you start to fill her head up with these images that she's better, she's more dear to him, and things like this. And although the Prophet ﷺ did that with Aisha, the other wives of the Prophet ﷺ knew that they had an advantage over Aisha. Most of them had been married previously. Most of them had children of their own. And all of them were older than Aisha. So Aisha was actually the underdog in the situation. So for the Prophet to say to Aisha that I love you more than any woman, the other wives never took offense to that because they put it in its proper perspective. They understood it. Whereas today, a man might say that to one of his wives, and it might, blow her head up and make her believe that she's more than what she actually is.
And validating her, it's not validating her on the back of the other woman. Like, she has absolutely nothing to do with how you feel and, what's going on. I mean, her presence, yes, is a reminder that, yes, you are jealous. It's a reminder that he did take another wife, that he is giving his love to someone else. But you're not validating her on the back of that woman. Like, she's not a factor.
She's not a factor in the validation.
Your relationship, your friendship is intact. she's not a factor. Like that's where that line of communication, that effective communication, speaking with a purpose.
So give me an example of what a husband could say to his wife at that very moment when she's being consumed by her jealousy. What could he say or do to her that would validate her feelings without invalidating the other woman?
Well, first, he has to listen to her completely, and you had that on one of your shows.
Oh, you watched one of these?
Yes. He has to listen to her completely, hear her out. She has a real argument. Like, hear her out. It could be baseless. It could be founded on something that is figment of her imagination, something that she made up. But hear her out, and really listen. And I think after that will guide you to what you need to say and where you need to go.
Okay, good point. And as we kind of wrap up this session, and I mean, you guys, mashallah, have touched on some very, very important issues. What are some of the things that men do wrong in their attempt to embark upon this journey of polygamy that kind of, inflames or incites the situation or makes exaggerates the hostility in the situation more than what is necessary? And can a man actually do it the right way and escape any, unscathed? Or is that, as the Arabs, they say, la bud, like it is going to happen,
I'll say from my own experience, anytime that my husband has mentioned taking another wife, I always come up with something that, well, you have to do this first. You have to put this in place. Well, you shouldn't do that right now because we need to do this.
It's never the right time. It's never the right time.
I mean, I don't think, or maybe one time I may have said, okay, mashallah, and I bought him a cake and some roses and everything, and like, okay. But mashallah, he didn't get
that was a one-time deal though, right?
One time. But I mean, it's always like, well, I want this first, I want that first, you promised me this. Is never the
right time. And that's something for men to understand, because we get frustrated when we come, and I mean, mind you, there's a whole world of anxiety that he's carrying on his shoulders when he even comes to you with the issue, which is important that women validate their husbands. So we're talking about the validating piece here, that when your husband comes to you and says, babe, I'm thinking about taking another wife, right? Those words, those 4 or 5 words right there, you don't know how long it took him to muster up the courage to come to you and say that.
But you're not thinking about that. You're like, when did he meet her? Did he see her already? Like, who is she? How long have you been talking?
You don't even validate his feelings. You don't even say, I appreciate, honey, you just being transparent with me. You just coming to me and telling me that. I appreciate that. He's never validated, which is why you find many men, one of the inappropriate things that they do is communicating with women on Facebook and on Twitter and, all these other social medias before, and the wife is like the last person to know, right? The whole world knows, and then he finally musters up the courage to come to you and say something. But one of the reasons why men do that, and this is just me counseling brothers and counseling couples to get inside these men's heads and find out why do they make such a mess of their situation. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the women that they are married to will hear nothing of the conversation of polygamy when they bring it to them. Oh, don't bring that word up in my house. I don't want to talk about it. Don't even talk to me about it. And when you take that approach, you automatically dismiss. You don't know what courage he had to muster up to even come to you and say, I'm thinking about taking another wife. Those words are so difficult. And I mean, the men here that have ever attempted something like that, exactly, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, there's nothing, carrying Mount Rushmore on your shoulders might be easier than going to your wife and saying, honey, I'm thinking about taking, and I mean, you have to respect that transparency and you have to validate that, because the more you validate that, the more he'll do it. He'll come to you first. When you look at the Prophet ﷺ, when he received revelation for the first time, where did he go? Out of all of the people he could have went to. He could have went to Abu Bakr. He could have went to some of his, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, some of his close companions, some of his contemporaries in his age bracket. He went to his wife Khadijah. And that is that best friend relationship that we talked about earlier. And it's like, we're best friends, so as long as you don't come to me and tell me about polygyny, right? When you come to tell me about polygyny, find another best friend. right? And you don't want to do that, because when you dismiss that, you open the door for shaitan, you know. And women, I just think that you guys, you underestimate the power of your words and the power of your influence. And I mean, we can go on, look at Khadijah and how she influenced the Prophet ﷺ. She told him basically, stand on your 2 feet. This is what it is. You are a prophet. You are a messenger. It is what it is.
Well, I think it takes maturity in a woman to be able to appreciate that transparency, because it's nothing that a man is going to ever do. I don't know of that many situations where a man is going to come to a woman and say, I want to take another wife, and she's going to be like, okay, great, yes, come on, bring her on. No, it's not going to happen that way, no matter what their situation is. And like she said, you know, we'll look for
any loophole.
We'll look for any loophole, but it's about his relationship with Allah, and that doing it the right way is not so much to placate the feelings of your wife. It's more so that you're straight with Allah. You're right with your Lord, and that's the most important thing. And she'll get over it. She can get over it. But if you give her that back door and you go and you say, oh, well, she going to be mad anyway, I'm going to just go ahead, you know, we going to talk, talk to Hawali later. You know, you do it a different way. She always has that back door, and that builds resentment. And that's just something, you know, just being careful of the feelings of your best friend. Mm-hmm. You need to be careful. Okay.
So hold that thought and stay with us, inshallah ta'ala. We'll be right back with this segment of the Mardiyah Show, Polygyny, an ancient tradition in modern times.
Some women, when they get married, their husband absorbs everything. They give them everything. And so now, if he likes ice cream, you like ice cream. Mm-hmm. If he wants to do, you like this. You no longer have that autonomy where you can have an objective opinion. You no longer say, you know what, you might want to do that. You want to get those shoes? That's fine. But I don't like them, and that's okay. Some women may be afraid that if I don't like everything that he likes, he's going to divorce me, or he's going to like his